You know the feeling? It's a feeling so common, so pervasive, we've been taught to ignore it, to dismiss it as a personal flaw, a sign of social anxiety or arrogance. It's the feeling you get when you're in a crowded room, a party filled with laughter and chatter, and you feel a profound, unshakable sense of loneliness that is far deeper than if you were actually alone. You're smiling, you're nodding, you're playing the part of the interested, sociable human being, but inside, a part of you is screaming. It's a silent scream of absolute, mind-numbing boredom and alienation. You're surrounded by people, yet you are utterly, completely, terrifyingly alone. You look at the faces, you hear the words, stories about promotions, complaints about traffic, gossip about people you've never met, and it feels like you're listening to a language from another planet, a language of the surface, a language that skates over the deep, vast ocean of what it actually means to be alive. You feel a desperate, clawing urge to escape, to run back to the silence of your own home, to the sanctuary of your own thoughts, to the company of a good book or the quiet hum of your own mind. And then comes the guilt, the voice of shame that whispers, "What is wrong with you? Why can't you just enjoy this? Why are you so different?" For years, you have believed that voice. You have believed that this feeling of social exhaustion is a weakness you must overcome. You have forced yourself to go to the parties, to attend the networking events, to endure the holiday gatherings, all in an attempt to fix this broken part of yourself. You have been told from your first day in school to your last corporate training seminar that your success, your happiness, your very worth as a person is tied to your ability to be sociable, to be a team player, to be likable. And so you have played the game, all the while feeling like an imposter, an actor who has forgotten his lines but keeps smiling and nodding, hoping no one will notice. Well, I am here today as your friend to tell you the truth. A truth so powerful, so liberating, it might just shatter the foundations of your world. That feeling is not a flaw. It is not a weakness. It is a signal. It is your mind's perfectly functioning alarm system screaming at you that you are in immense danger. The danger of losing the single most valuable thing you will ever possess, your own intelligence. The Florentine master of reality, Niccolò Machiavelli, understood this 5 centuries ago. He knew that the mind is like a blade. To be effective, to be sharp, it must be honed in solitude. When you throw it into the constant grinding friction of social interaction, it does not get sharper. It gets dull. It chips. It breaks. The more sociable you are in the modern sense of the word, the more you drown your own thoughts in the noise of others, the more you trade your unique perspective for the comfortable consensus of the group. The more sociable you are, the more stupid you will become. Let's talk about a man I knew, a brilliant software architect named Julian. Julian was a genius in the truest sense. He could see patterns in complex systems that no one else could. In the quiet of his office, with nothing but a whiteboard and a coffee, he could design solutions that were years ahead of their time. He saw code as poetry, architecture as philosophy. But Julian had a fatal flaw in the eyes of his corporation. He was not a people person. He hated the endless meetings, the mandatory team-building exercises, the forced fun of the company picnic. He saw these things for what they were, a colossal waste of time and mental energy, rituals designed to enforce conformity and kill genuine creativity. His boss, a man named Dave, was the polar opposite. Dave couldn't write a line of code, but he was a master of sociability. His calendar was a rainbow of coffee meetings and lunch appointments. He remembered everyone's birthday. He was the king of small talk. And he saw Julian's quiet genius not as an asset to be protected, but as a resource to be mined and a threat to be managed. For months, Dave would collaborate with Julian. This collaboration consisted of Dave talking for 45 minutes about his weekend and the latest corporate gossip, followed by 15 minutes of him trying to extract Julian's ideas, which he would then present as his own in meetings with senior leadership. Julian, being non-confrontational and reflexively polite, would allow it to happen. He believed, as so many of us do, that avoiding conflict was the path of least resistance. He didn't want to make things awkward. He was polite, and his politeness was slowly killing him.
The breaking point came with a project codenamed Odyssey. It was Julian's masterpiece, a platform so innovative it would redefine their entire industry. He worked on it for a year, mostly in secret, during late nights and weekends, pouring his very soul into the architecture. When it was finally ready, a work of sheer brilliance, he knew he had to present it. But he also knew Dave would try to hijack it. This time, however, something was different. Julian had been reading, thinking, fortifying his own mind. He was starting to understand the game. He decided to apply a lesson that polite people never learn. You do not owe explanations to those who have demonstrated they are not on your side. The day before the big presentation to the CEO, Dave called Julian into his office. "Hey, buddy," Dave started, all smiles. "Big day tomorrow. Just wanted to sync up. Why don't you walk me through the deck so we're on the same page? I'm thinking I'll kick things off to set the stage, and then you can jump in for the technical deep dive." It was the same move he always pulled. But this time, Julian didn't nod politely. He looked at Dave with a calm, neutral expression and said, "No, that won't be necessary. I have it handled." Dave's smile faltered. "What do you mean, buddy? We're a team." Julian stood his ground. He didn't get angry. He didn't accuse. He simply repeated, with the chilling finality of a closing door, "I have it handled." He offered no further information. He did not justify his decision. He had learned that politeness in the face of a predator is not a virtue, it is suicide. The next day, Julian presented Project Odyssey alone. He was magnificent. The CEO was blown away, not just by the project, but by Julian's newfound command and authority. Julian didn't just get the promotion to lead the new division, he got something far more valuable. He got his own respect back. He had realized that selective, strategic withdrawal from the sociable game was not antisocial, it was profoundly pro-self. It was the only way to protect the sharp edge of his mind from the dulling influence of the herd. This is the first rule of intellectual survival. Your mind is a sacred space, and you must act as its fierce, uncompromising guardian. Constant social exposure is like leaving the door to a library wide open in a hurricane. Ideas are torn from the shelves, pages are scattered, and the quiet, orderly process of deep thought becomes impossible. You become a reflection of 1,000 other people's opinions, a walking echo chamber of the last article you read or the last podcast you heard. Your thinking becomes shallow because you are never alone long enough for it to become deep. Deep thought, genuine insight, the kind of intelligence that solves real problems and creates real value, requires vast, uninterrupted stretches of solitude. It requires the courage to be bored, to sit with a problem, to wrestle with it, to walk away from it, and to let your subconscious mind do the heavy lifting. This cannot happen when your phone is buzzing with notifications, when your calendar is packed with pointless meetings, when you believe your value comes from being seen and heard at all times. The sociable person is in a constant state of reaction. The strategic hermit, the person who curates their social interactions with ruthless intentionality, lives in a state of creation. They choose when to engage, on what terms, and for what purpose. Their social energy is a precious, finite resource, not a public fountain for anyone to drink from. And this leads us to the fatal flaw of politeness. Politeness, as it is practiced by most, is not about genuine respect for others. It is a fear-based strategy designed to avoid disapproval. It's a form of social camouflage. We're polite to the rude barista, to the condescending colleague, to the manipulative family member, not because they deserve our respect, but because we fear the momentary discomfort of confrontation. Machiavelli would laugh at this. He understood that a reputation for being endlessly polite is a giant flashing sign that reads, "I am easily exploited." Let's be clear, this is not a license to be a cruel or needlessly abrasive person. It is a license to be a sane one. It is the wisdom to understand that there are specific situations where politeness is not just a mistake, but a profound act of self-betrayal. Think of a young woman, let's call her Maya, who was raised to be the quintessential good girl. She never talked back, she always put others' needs before her own. She was polite to a fault. She loaned money to a friend who she knew would never pay her back because saying no felt unkind. The friend, of course, vanished. Maya was polite, and she was played for a fool. Later, she was in a relationship with a man who would subtly belittle her in front of their friends, disguising his insults as jokes. She would laugh along, feeling a pit in her stomach because to call him out would be to make a scene. She was polite, and she was being emotionally abused. The politeness was the lubricant for her own subjugation.
Her awakening, like Julian's, was not a single event, but a slow, painful dawning. It came when she started her own small business. In a negotiation with a much larger company, the executive on the other side of the table made her a ridiculously low offer and said with a paternalistic smile, "I'm sure a smart, agreeable young woman like you can see this is a fair starting point." In that moment, Maya saw the entire matrix. She saw that her agreeableness, her lifelong training in politeness, was being used as a weapon against her. It was the chain they expected her to wrap around her own neck. An old version of Maya would have politely negotiated from that insulting starting point, but the new Maya, the one who is beginning to understand, simply smiled back, a calm, cool smile, and said nothing. She let the silence hang in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. After a long moment, she slowly began to pack her briefcase. The executive, flustered, asked, "Where are you going?" Maya looked him directly in the eye, her voice even and steady, and said, "My politeness is not a discount." She stood up and walked out of the room. 2 hours later, her phone rang. It was the executive's assistant. They were ready to meet her original asking price. By withholding the politeness the executive expected, by refusing to play the part of the agreeable girl, she had completely rewritten the power dynamic. She had shown him that she was not to be feared, perhaps, but she was absolutely to be respected. And in that moment of strategic, calculated impoliteness, she became more powerful than she had ever been in a lifetime of being nice. This is the secret that you must carry with you. The world is full of people who will use your own virtues against you. They will praise your humility to keep you small. They will celebrate your teamwork to steal your ideas. They will count on your politeness to cross your boundaries. To see this is not to become a cynic, it is to become a realist. It is to finally understand that your energy, your time, and your mental real estate are the most valuable assets you have. You cannot afford to give them away for free to every person who asks, to every social gathering, to every vapid conversation. You must become a miser with your attention. You must build a fortress around your focus. This is where the true catharsis lies. This is the moment of tears and liberation. The feeling you've had your whole life, that secret preference for solitude, that discomfort in loud, shallow crowds, that exhaustion from social performance, it was never ever a flaw. It was a sign of your intelligence. It was a sign of your mind's powerful, innate drive to protect itself from the stupidity of the herd. You are not broken. You are in fact more finely tuned than most. You were a precision instrument being used as a blunt object, and it caused you immense pain. The sense of desolation for the years you've lost trying to fit in, for the energy you've wasted on people who didn't deserve a moment of your time, is real. Let yourself feel it. It is the ghost of a life you could have lived, but now you can begin a new one. From this day forward, you can adopt a new code. A code where your default setting is not sociable, but selectively engaged. Where your politeness is not a reflex, but a strategic choice, a gift bestowed only upon those who have earned your respect. You can give yourself permission to decline the invitation without a long, fabricated excuse. A simple, "I won't be able to make it," is enough. You can give yourself permission to end a conversation that is draining you. "It was good talking to you, I have to go now." You can give yourself permission to sit in silence, to read a book, to think a thought from beginning to end, and to understand that this is not idleness. This is the most important work you will ever do. It is the work of forging a mind that is sharp, clear, and truly your own. The hysterical delight comes from this freedom. The freedom to finally, fully, and unapologetically be the person you have always been in private. the person who thinks deeply, who feels intensely, and who has no more time for the soul-crushing noise of the social machine. You are not becoming less sociable, you are becoming more intelligent. You are not becoming impolite, you are becoming impossible to manipulate. You are stepping out of the warm, comfortable, stupid blur of the crowd and into the cold, clear, brilliant light of your own sovereign mind. And from this vantage point, for the first time, you will be able to truly see.